Hi, and welcome to this quick tool review. This series of videos is about new, interesting, or unusual tools I run across. So starting off with, it's more of a request to the community to see if someone's found something particularly good. What I'm looking for is a good, long-lasting chip brush. So I bought really cheap throwaway brushes. Sometimes I cut the bristles off short to make them stiffer so they can brush thicker chips out of the way. They only last a little while. All of them tend to clog up with the lubricants and cutting fluids. I've tried these other inexpensive short ones that have the bristles splayed at the end where they crush them so they're smaller. These tend to clog up really quickly, so sort of mixed views on that. I've got this one with fairly big for chips on my bandsaw. And then I found this one recently. It's a masonry brush with really heavy-duty bristles. I'm going to give this one a try. If someone's found the perfect solution, or at least a really good solution, I'd love to hear about it, and I think everyone else would as well, because these only last, so long before they load up with lubricants and whatnot, and they're really hard to clean. I've tried cleaning them in alcohol and acetone, and so you end up tossing them out, and I'd like to have some long-term solution that works pretty well, and if someone's come up with one, please share. First interesting set of tools is not what you'd expect. So I got these gloves from Fireball Tools. They're Cayman. They sell them elsewhere as well, but I wanted to support Fireball Tools because I love what they do. And I don't intend on using these for what they were for. These are MIG gloves, but I don't have a MIG welder. So you might be wondering why I got them. Totally different use case. I have a pomegranate bush in the backyard, and the pomegranate bush has thorns everywhere, and I use these for trimming. Also, there's a lot of padding on the inside on one side of these gloves. This whole section is really well padded. I also have a shredder, and the sticks in the shredder when you're pushing them in tend to beat you senseless. And I got these gloves so that give me a little protection against getting my arms all cut up. So I know that's not a machining use, but I thought those are pretty weird use for gloves. When I saw these, I thought, holy cow, they're perfect, better than all the gardening gloves you could buy out there, and they're reasonably priced. So if you're interested in a pair, put it so you can read the title, Cayman Tools, Cayman brand gloves, and Fireball Tools sells them. Support another YouTuber. He's got a great channel. Next up are a couple items I found at Harbor Freight recently, some new tools they've got. The US General for their series of large cabinets. This one is a small flexible tray made out of silicone, which makes it chemically resistant. And I wanted to put this on my mill to hold parts and see how it worked out. So it's silicone mold, very thick silicone with 3 separate compartments. Seems like it might work well, and I was going to give it a shot and let people know what they think. It's about as wide as the mill, so you could store it this way. Obviously, I don't need to store any hex bits in here, but you could store drill bits or end mills standing up if you wanted. I always have little parts on the mills, and I got to tell you, the mill tray cover that I bought, those really are mediocre. So I've never been happy with those. So they make several sizes of these. This is the medium size. They have a small, medium, and large, and this is the medium. So I thought I'd give it a shot, see how I like it. They also came out with these magnetic tool hooks. They're not huge pull force, but they're good sized. And currently I have a magnet with a bolt sticking out of the middle that supports my drawbar wrench, and unfortunately, because it comes out of the center, it ends up magnetizing the drawbar wrench, and I have to demagnetize it all the time or degauss it, and that doesn't work out so well. So I thought I'd give this a shot. There's not a ton of weight there. Also, I use some of these sort of things on the tool cabinet next to my mill to hold all the wrenches, so I can get quick access to like 3/4 inch wrench, which is common for T-slot nuts. So I'm going to give these guys a shot too. These are fairly inexpensive. They're like, if you get them on sale, they're like $6 a piece or something like that. I don't know why they protect them with packaging, tamper-proof packaging for a $6 item that probably cost them 50 cents to make. I think these are just ceramic magnets. They're not rare earths because they're fairly low pull. Yeah, we're just going to have to cut these guys open, I think, to get to them. So there's one. Oh, they've got a nice rubber backing to give them. So even though the magnetic pull is not super strong, this rubber grip will help generate more friction. So I'm looking forward to giving this guy a try too. That's just a couple items I found. if my description wasn't adequate, this is what I used to use. So I had just a bolt running through one of these ceramic magnets with a cup. And because the bolt's in the center, the magnetic field's going around from the center around like this toroidally. And so that makes this bolt a concentrator of the magnetic field. So it magnetizes the drawbar wrench every time I put it on there. So this is not ideal. I thought this would be a solution a while ago, but and it's worked, but it does have its drawbacks. Next up, we have a set of setup blocks. They're not really 1, 2, 3 blocks. They're like 1.5, 2 1/4, 3.5 blocks. They're machinist made. They're hardened, ground, and polished. Beautiful set of blocks, slightly magnetized at this point in time. The thing that caught my eye was the EDM cutouts in the middle that go all the way through. I don't know if you can see that easily, but it goes all the way through. I just think they're a beautiful set of blocks. There's the machinist that made them is currently selling more of his stuff. He's retiring on eBay. So I just wanted to pick him up. It's sort of an homage to beautiful work of a retiring machinist and shouldn't be lost. They weren't terribly expensive considering how much work went into them. Heck, I probably couldn't buy the material for what I paid for these. So I'm very thankful to have them and I will enjoy them. I wish he'd signed them, but he didn't. He just liked pristine. All of his stuff is just sort of pristine. No marks on it, so nice set of setup blocks. Next up, I was looking for a ball peen hammer that may be a better than normal design. This is a fairly inexpensive Chinese-made one, although the quality has been decent. It's worked really well over the years. I was just looking to see if there was something better out there. So I always reinvest my cash that I make on the channel into tools and things like that so I can share things with you guys. So the first one that I found was Estwing. I thought, oh, that's a brand I know well. If you look at how the old ones are made, this is their claw hammer Estwing, and they're just beautifully made. This was really nice. I got this 25 years ago, and it's still holding up really well. Beautiful hammer. The new Estwing, not as beautiful. Doesn't look like they put as much effort into the manufacturing process. It looks to be functional. The balance is okay. Better on the flat side than the peen side, the ball side. This guy is a real steel, and this one's got a really good balance to it. The handle is supposedly fiberglass, carbon fiber, but regardless of what it is, it's pretty light. It's got a good gripping handle, and it also has a good balance, but it feels a little more awkward when you're doing the peening side. It's non-symmetrical about the center, so it looks kind of funny. It kind of looks like someone sort of crunched it in the middle. But it feels better than the Estwing, so that's a plus. I'll use them for a while and let you know what I think. Anyone knows a brand of hammers where they consistently make, besides functionality, which is number one, make something where the aesthetics are nice too. I'd love to hear about it and just go check it out. That's just what I've run across. Next up are a couple utility items that are handy to have around the shop. These are some bamboo paddle sticks I got at Smart & Final. These are pretty handy. They're a renewable resource, so I normally don't like disposable items, but bamboo is a type of grass that grows extremely rapidly, but is fairly strong, so it's not as big a waste. I use these for mixing epoxy. The paddle end's great for scooping out some epoxy and putting on the part. You've got a fine end if you need to get in and remove some epoxy around an edge. So they're fairly inexpensive, Smart & Final. There's the item number. Next up is a couple items that when you're trying to handle sharp cutters, I was handling a sharp cutter, removing it out of a collet by the end, and one of the viewers made, rightfully so, a comment about, holy cow, that's a bit dangerous. You cut pretty easily. And I was aware of that at the time, and it definitely was in the forefront of my mind. So I picked up some pieces of leather from eBay to have around the shop, some thin stuff and some thick stuff. This is 3.2 to 3.6 millimeter thick. This is great for not so much for grabbing things, but to put under something when you're going to press it and you don't want it to get marred or damaged. And the thinner stuff, once it gets softened up, I can put some neat's foot oil on this. You can use that to grab something sharp and protect your hands. So fairly inexpensive on eBay. Go check it out. Handy to have around the shop, just some pieces of leather. All kinds of uses will pop up, I'm sure. Next up are a couple of not so new tools. They're tools that I've been using for a very long time that were sort of common in my particular industry, but they may not be so common elsewhere. It's not like they're hard to find, you just don't run across them as often, especially some super small channel locks. They've got a pretty wide gripping range and very handy to have, and then a small crescent wrench, which you might have seen before. These can be surprisingly handy to get into tight places when you don't have the right size wrench or it's something odd. So just thought I'd point these out. These I got at Lowe's or Home Depot, I forget which. So not hard to find, but not so common and surprisingly useful, especially these small jawed channel locks. Next up is a beautiful tool find. It's pretty old. Made in Placentia, California, Kingman White mini sine, model 250 with magnet. This is a really small sine plate, beautifully made. Hardened, ground, and lapped, it looks like on part of it. The finish is just beautiful. Magnets right here inside, I guess to hold it against a round shank. Let's see if I can find one. There you go. So it'll go against round surfaces, which is kind of unusual for a sine plate. It's also small enough that it could fit inside your vice jaws. So it's a really handy size, beautifully made. Look at the attention to detail on this guy. There's a little bit of surface corrosion on it, but it looks like it's survived the time pretty well. It's a very workable condition, so very pleased to have it. Add it to my collection. Thanks for watching. Hope you find it useful. Hope to see you next time.